All right. So we're backstage at the Biblical show. Mm, oh, then we could like check to make sure it's sharing. Okay, it looks like everything is good now.
I like that shirt on you.
Thank you. I got it from Timu because I don't think Boohoo Man ships here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Boohoo Man ships here to Hawaii anymore. So I got it from Timu. I had to find a new place. So thanks for joining us. We'll get started in about 4 minutes. I just wanted to get on here early, make sure we get everything up and running. And I do see it. Look, it's on the Vibe Political Show, Andre. It's on the page.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that, but it's on the page now. So people can see us.
Yay.
How's your week, man? I've been excited about the show and like just like contemplating what it is and like what we're gonna dive into. That's that boo making noise like cats do.
I've been
The name of
good.
that's good.
I
What's
have
the
been
name of
good.
the psychologist again?
The
Because I don't.
psychologist I'm going to be speaking about is Fred Bryant.
Fred Bryant
Very basic name, but yeah.
from Loyola University,
Yeah.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got the right photo.
Hey, I see um well, I mean, I'm gonna call her First Sergeant Johnson because she's a first sergeant.
Oh, okay.
Hey First Sergeant, how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm trying to figure out where I wanna because I typed my notes this time. I didn't write them down. So I'm trying to figure
Okay.
out if I want to pull it on my phone or let's see. Okay, I got them right here.
And if you're just tuning in, we will get started in about 1 minute. She said her week was great and took a couple of days off. Did you do anything fun? Rest? Or like how did you spend those days, if you care to share?
And is it use or lose days that people taking? Because there's a bunch of people I know on leave in September because a lot of people got use or lose days.
Right?
I'm over here sipping lemonade.
Lemonade.
Lemonade, and I got
Okay,
Ritz
it is.
crackers.
Okay. That's your snacks for the show? If you
That's my
don't have the
snack for the
snacks for
show.
this,
You know, I
get you some.
mean, just trying to.
Okay, we can get started. It is 9 o'clock on the dot. So welcome to the Vibe Political Show. I'm your host Zion,
And I am Andre. Hey,
and we're
y'all.
glad that you're with us today. So at the Vibe Political Show, we're not just a media show; we're a community. We're known for our live streams on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and providing an interactive platform for engaging in conversations on various topics from pop culture trends, social issues, to current events. And Andre is the researcher for our show. So everything today is from the research that he has done. And we just talk it out and provide practical ways where we can apply this knowledge to our own lives, as well as some of the ways for you. Our goal is to create a safe and inclusive space for everyone to express their opinions and share their voice. We're more than just a show, we're a movement. Join us and be part of the conversation. At any point today, if you feel that you want to comment, or if you watch this show as a replay, because we have people from all over the world watching our show, please do comment, and we read all your comments. We will reply. Also, send us topics if there's anything you would like us to talk about or discover together. Also, if you ever want to come on the show, let us know, and we could schedule that out. So without further ado, that's my cat Babu, who loves to make noise, especially when I'm on the show, don't they? They're like, "What you doing?"
That do be knowing.
So yeah,
Listen.
yeah. So that is our intro, and without further ado, we can get into it, Andre.
Okay. So, yes, welcome to the show. Just a caveat off of Zion, we're so glad that you're here. I do want to reply to my battles message that is use or lose. Oh, she tried golf and it was fun. And I think we're going to continue it. So, girl, I don't do golf. So you have fun with that. So you let me know how that goes. Because I feel like that's the most boring sport in God's creation. But you go ahead and have you have fun with that, girl. Let me know how that continues to go. But I'll go ahead and move on. So, as you all can see, Zion created the backdrop to our show, um, which I love. But the topic of this show is emotional deceleration, navigating the turbulent currents of feelings. This topic really is, I want to say it's a semi continuation to the last episode when we talked about breaking free from the gutter. So there's elements of this that are kind of similar, but this kind of delves into a deeper dive into negative emotions. So basically, this episode is when our negative is talking about when our negative moments can keep us from savoring the good things in our lives. Um, and it's an extension from breaking free from the gutter, like I said, and working on being unstuck, and to not dwell on the negative side of things. So basically, with emotional deceleration, it is the importance of turning the smallest moments in our lives into an opportunity for pleasure. So I'm going to kind of do a deep dive based on psychologist Fred Bryant. Psychologist Fred Bryant is from Loyola University Chicago, and when I looked at this interview that was conducted, oh, that's a picture of him. Um, you know, it's interesting because when I talked to Zion, Zion was like, "Hey, I want to, show what these people look like." Because the research that I do is I give y'all information from, a psychologist, psychiatrist, a researcher, a historian, all the topics we've done in the past. I dig into these educators, right? So this is the first time that Zion is putting a picture of of the people up.
Right?
So now you can put a face to the name, and I appreciate you doing that, Zion, because it's like, oh, okay, we can actually see who it is we're talking about. I want to be shady. I'm like, ooh, Mr. Bryant, this is not a flattering picture of you. I wish there was a better picture,
I
but
was trying,
you give
but
us
he
some
didn't have.
good, but he gives us some good nuggets. in the interview that I saw. So I'll go ahead and share, and do a dive into emotional deceleration. So, like I said, psychologist Fred Bryant is from Loyola University, Chicago. And he shared a story in his past about how he was trying to balance raising two kids with his wife and his teaching and researching responsibilities with his job. Um, and during this time, he believed that they conflicted with each other on a constant basis. And he was so annoyed because he was trying to be an active parent in his kids' lives, but also he has such a big responsibility in being in his teaching and researching with his job as a professor. So he believed. He shared that he went to his. This is a story that he shared, is that he went to his daughter's school for a performance in a school auditorium. And when he walked into the auditorium, he was surrounded by proud parents, right? And he was just looking at the joy on their faces as they were watching their kids or their nieces or nephews up there performing. And he knew that his daughter was a very good flute player. She's a musician. She played the flute in school. But while she was playing the flute and had her little moment and everything, what he was doing was he tended to look at his watch several times, thinking about how many songs she had left to perform, along with how much time was left during the performance. He was also thinking about like the section that he was going to work on with his manuscript for work. And in those times while he was literally looking at his daughter perform, he had all these things going on in his mind. And he was so frustrated because he couldn't be at two places at once. And it was so powerful because in his mind, he's like, man, I'm enjoying this moment, but I'm also thinking about work. And I'm also thinking like how much time we got. And he was frustrated. He was like, man, I want to be able to knock out being here and being present for my daughter, but then I also got all this work I got to do. And what was so profound in his story was that his wife called him a ghost in the house. Literally called him a ghost in the house one night. And he stated that he would just be in his basement and be isolated from all noise and distraction from his wife and kids. Like he would just go in the basement. And like I said, he was a professor. So he would have to do all his research and get all his things together for his class. So he didn't need distraction from the noise. But
Yep.
go
Andre,
ahead. Mhm.
Andre, for the viewers, I just wanted to ask a question because I feel like we are working to make things more interactive. And so for the viewers who either watch us on a replay and the ones who are on right now, have you ever felt that way, or has someone ever told you, if you feel like sharing, that you're not present, or like have you struggled with being present? And and I think personally, sometimes the challenge is aligning or like being present and having the energy to do all the things you got to do. Like sometimes you just want to relax. And then, like, but when you're married or you have children, then there's like the time that your body wants to relax is the time that you should be preparing that stuff so you can get it done. So then you can be present with your family. But then, like, so aligning, I can recall times personally when I was married where, you know, my ex-husband would be on a work trip, and then like he would be like, oh, why didn't you do all this stuff while you were, while I was gone? But I'm like, while you were gone, I still had to work, I still had to, live life, I still had to do all this stuff. And then so then it becomes a challenge because like in his mind he was like, you should have been done all your schoolwork, right? So that way when I come home we could have time together. But I'm like, it doesn't always align that way.
Yeah, and
So let us
Refugio
know.
made that's profound. And Refugio made a statement saying, actually, this is something I feel all the time. Being a parent, spouse, student, and work, it's a lot. Girl, my heart goes out to parents, because I feel like just me as a single man with no kids and no spouse, that it's a lot. You know what I mean?
Real talk.
So I can only imagine being a parent a spouse, a student, and I just said that, Refugio is a first sergeant. Like, she's a first sergeant now at Garrison. So I just, I completely
And
get it.
and Andre, I got some good feedback. Shout out to my mom. Maybe she'll come on the show one day. Like, can you just give like a brief synopsis on like the duties or responsibilities of a first sergeant in the Army, so we can bring the people on the journey with us?
Oh, I can. I mean, Refugio, since she's wearing the
Oh yeah,
diamonds, she
yeah,
can as well. But
yes, that'd be great.
yeah. So the duties of a first sergeant, and this is something that I learned too, because I felt like I knew what first sergeants do, but since being promoted, I've been able to get a lot of insight from sergeant majors and stuff like that. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm about to be one next year, but that's a whole nother conversation that I
Glory.
don't want to talk about right now. But one thing I will say, and Refugio, please, like, join in and give your take too. But one of the biggest roles of a first sergeant is just handling the administrative work of that organization. So, and what I mean by administrative work, I mean like handling all of the med pros, handling people's uh, evaluations, awards being processed for the unit for people PCSing, all those things. So, and when you think about administrative work in a leadership role, that's what the first sergeant does. While the commander goes to all the meetings and does all the things with the commander, the first sergeant is handling the day in and day out administrative duties for that. There is different levels to that. Like a Refugio is a first sergeant for Garrison, so that's a whole nother beast. But typically, a first sergeant is basically handling the administrative actions for the personnel within their footprint. And one of the struggles that I had was is like, I want to be a first sergeant in a 42 Alpha position, but it doesn't matter what MOS. You can be a first sergeant in a 11 Bravo position, whatever. A first sergeant is a first sergeant. So it doesn't matter what position or what MOS it is. All the jobs are the same as a first sergeant. There's no difference with a job. But I do feel Garrison is just a little bit different, and Refugio can explain. But she did just say here, absolutely, and also listening, and I mean really listening to each individual in your team. I'm glad you
Yeah,
said that, because as a first sergeant, I think a lot of people back in the day view first sergeants as scary, right? Like, they mean business and very assertive, and sometimes aggressive. But first sergeants are really the people that people should be comfortable going up to and saying, "Hey, these are the things that I'm going through. This is what I'm going through with my supervisor or leader or whatever, and I need your guidance, need your help." Just basically a person that's approachable. First sergeants, depending on what organization you're in, you kind of have to be a hardball. So I feel like, brigade combat teams and stuff like that, first sergeants have to be a little bit more like aggressive in those combat arms jobs. But typically a first sergeant should be, and like Refugio said, just listening. Any soldier that wants to come in and use the open door policy and go to a first sergeant, just like commanders should have open door policies, should with the enlisted side, any enlisted person should be able to go to that first sergeant and say, "Hey, this is what I'm going through."
hmm
And I'm even including master sergeants on down, because you got to think a first sergeant is the same rank as a master sergeant, but they wear the diamond. So if a master sergeant even has an issue, they should be able to go to that first sergeant, unless they just say, "Hey, we're the same rank. I'll go to the sergeant major." But a first sergeant is literally in that leadership role where they're supposed to be approachable and be able to address any issues that may come down and be kind of like a mediator in a way. And I feel that
yeah,
us being EOAs, Zion, myself, and Refugio are
hmm
prior EOAs.
hmm
So I think that with the EOA, background that we have, I think we would all be phenomenal first sergeants, because we had to listen to people come in, file complaints, whether that was informal or formal. So I think that's
hmm
really the duties of a first sergeant in its entirety, is handling the administrative actions, but also um, listening. And yes,
yeah,
EOA is Equal Opportunity Advisor. So thank you for putting that up there, Zion.
yeah. No,
Uh,
no worries. Like, thanks to my
because
mom,
we,
like, giving me that feedback so we can like, bring the people. My mom kind of said something to the effect of like, she feels like she's invited just to have a conversation with us, like in our living room. And she was like, it's kind of like going for a walk. And so on this journey, we want to make sure that, that both Andre, when I do it, I need you to, right, like do it for me too. But we can help each other, and let our audience know like what we're talking about. So EOA is Equal Opportunity Advisor, and I think I like everyone's comments on what a first sergeant is. I would just add that it's pretty much the person that cares about the general welfare and health of the force, of those forces assigned to them, but also, that role of a first sergeant it should be a respected role, and they generally ensure that the NCO Corps is solid. That's what we want them to do. The NCO Corps, meaning all enlisted soldiers, all the way down to private E1, the lowest rank, up to their rank and beyond. So, yep, that's what I would add.
That was really good, Zion. You better give a caveat to our definition. That was really good. So
Thanks.
so going back to emotional deceleration with Fred Bryant, so I left off on him stating that his wife one night told him that she feels like he's a ghost in the house, and he stated that he would just be in his basement and be isolated from noise and distraction from his kids and wife. Um, and on one hand, he wanted to be present in the house, so by not being a ghost, because in his mind he's like, dang, how am I a ghost in my own home? Like, I shouldn't be a ghost when I come home. Like, he wants to be present. He wanted to be present with his kids, and he did everything he could. And that's a good question, Zion. You're asking, are you a ghost in your house? And I really want y'all to take some time to think about that question, because you can unintentionally be I don't want to say antisocial, but you can unintentionally be not present in your home according to other people. You could be thinking you're present, but your actions and what you're doing shows that you are so far removed from your family that you're surrounded by. Um, and he felt, but with him being a ghost, according to his wife, he just felt driven to be productive, and he wanted to take advantage of opportunities whenever they arose, and was multitasking. Now, I know y'all have heard of the term multitasking. And with him multitasking, this produced a lot of guilt in him. He felt so guilty because while he was busy working on his work in the basement, he felt so terrible that he was a ghost in his house. He's like, dang, I don't want to be a ghost to my own spouse. I mean, like, that's crazy. Because what Lord knows what the kids felt, they probably felt the same way. And of course, balancing multitasking opportunities and career growth and family. It's a lot. It really is a lot to have to try to balance that. So while he was busy being productive, he would also think about what he could be doing with his wife and kids as well. So even though he was busy in the basement, he was like, okay, I'm being productive, but then he was also thinking like, well, dang, what can I do once I'm done with this to show that I am here and present with my wife and kids? And it's a lot. So even while and like I said earlier in the other story, he was going to his daughter's music performance, and while he was enjoying the moment, he wasn't really in the moment because he was looking at his watch. He was looking at how much time was left that she had to perform. Like, when is this over? Oh, I got a manuscript to finish. Like, there was all these things he was thinking about instead of just sitting in the moment. And that is a version of emotional deceleration. You are just declining. Like, it's just you are not able to manage your emotions effectively because you have so much on your brain and you're not able to be in the moment. So one thing Fred shared is that he is a bona fide planner. How many planners are out there? I can attest to you that I
Mm-hmm.
am guilty. I think the military has structured me, and Zion, you can chime in whenever, of being a planner. Like, we are so structured. I feel that I'm a structured individual. I have to plan it out in advance. I don't do spontaneity. I ain't got time for that. Like, I have already mapped out my day, my week, whatever. So I will be putting everything on the calendar for a link up, a meetup. I don't do no last minute. That's just not how I do. So back to Fred, he's a bona fide planner. So his friends are mostly individuals that are spontaneous and they live in the moment. So his friends let him plan outings because of how organized he is, right? So
Mhm.
Fred does his research on where they're gonna go. I'm talking about, like, when I say research, like, if they, let's say they go to Hawaii. I'm using Hawaii because Zion's over there. So let's say we're gonna go to Hawaii. We're gonna go to Waikiki Beach or whatever. We're just gonna go. Listen, for the friends is like, all they doing is saying we going to Hawaii. We'll have a good time. We're gonna turn up because they ain't think about planning nothing. We just gonna go, and whatever's out there, we get there and we go. But listen, not Fred though, honey. Fred, listen. He let so his friends let him plan all the outings, right? So Fred would do his research on all the little attractions that are out there. He would have backup plans if weather was an issue. So, like, if if it was raining or whatever, there's a backup plan to the. I'm telling you, very, very structured, right? Um, so, like, if weather was an issue or if there were other circumstances that arose, to adjust as necessary. He was so stuck on a schedule, y'all, that he found himself not even enjoying the moments of joy that his friends
Mm.
were, because his friends were actually enjoying the certain moments because of their spontaneity way of thinking, because they weren't planning nothing. Friends could be like, oh my God, look at those trees. Honey, is Fred looking at a tree? No, Fred is thinking about what the next thing is. And, okay, we got 3 hours to do this, and then we got that. And like, the friends was just in the moment, right? There were times that he wanted to move on to the next thing because, looking at his watch, he's like, okay, we're supposed to do this for 2.5 hours. So according to the schedule, we got to move on, right? Where his
Mhm.
friends wanted to linger a bit longer because they are not keeping track of time. Like, they are just in the moment. But Fred wanted to just, oh, okay, we got this, we got this. Like, oh my goodness. So one of the questions here is, do you leave room for spontaneity on vacation?
Mm.
I I am guilty of not really doing that. I've gotten better over the last couple of years, but I used to be like, okay, I want to see this attraction, this building, this museum, this park, this museum, this, and I want to go to this restaurant, this restaurant. Why I got restaurants? Listen, what if I'm not in the mood for that? What if my friends change their mind and be like, well, that sounds good, but I want steak tonight. I don't want no
Mm.
Peruvian food. I want some steak. I want to go to a steakhouse. And me, I'm like, that's not in the plan, girl. Like, we gotta go. Like, no. So it's
I got
very
a question
interesting.
for you,
Yeah.
Andre. Like,
Mhm.
how does that plan out? Because I have ideas I have a couple comments in my head. But like, so when you plan a vacation, do did your idea of planning and what you wanted to see, did that mean that you would go and make these memories by yourself more often?
No, honestly. So, to be
Mm.
transparent with you, Zion, is literally like
Mhm.
what I do, and I'm probably not as bad as Fred, but what I will say is that I do look up where I'm going, and I look
Mhm.
at the location, and then I look at the surrounding areas of where I want to go to do and eat and visit.
Mhm.
I do that. Um,
Okay.
I should be doing that on vacation, though. If I'm on vacation, I
Mm.
don't really need an itinerary. If
Mhm.
I'm coming down, like, I know you, Najeli, Nando, and a few other people that are there,
Mhm.
right? Like, I don't need to have an itinerary. Now, do I need to make plans to not? The only thing I need to I feel like I need to lock in is what day I see you. But as far as the
Okay.
extra
Yeah.
stuff, I don't really need
Mhm.
to, like, Zion, if I'm coming down there on a Wednesday, I'm like, hey, Thursday, let's go do this. You may be like, well, Andre, I live here. We're not doing that. I got all this going on. Like, in the
Mhm.
moment, you may take me somewhere totally different, but I've looked up places. But no, if it's my first time in Hawaii, I need to just go with the flow with what you think is best. Because 9 times out of 10,
Mhm.
I'm going to go enjoy it. Because you've been
Yeah.
there, you already know what to expect. And
Mhm.
even if I've been out there already, I don't necessarily have to plan everything out before.
Right.
It doesn't have to be so structured like the military, where we
Mhm.
have to be structured and we have to be. It doesn't have to be like that on a vacation.
Right.
Um, so back to Fred. Like I said, he wanted to move on to the next thing according to the schedule, but his friends wanted to linger a bit longer because they are not keeping track of time. So one of the terms that his friends called him was a worry wart. He didn't allow for spontaneity much on certain trips and outings, where some of his and what resulted in that was some of his friends resenting him. They
Mhm.
resented him for it because they're like, listen, like we are in this beautiful country or this beautiful state, beautiful weather, and all you want to do is just go off a schedule. Like let's just enjoy what we got right in front of us, and you don't have to be so. So some of his friends resented him for it, and that's it's unfortunate, right? And one thing I want to say is it is okay to not have to follow everything in the plan. You can balance plans with spontaneity. And that's kind of like what I said earlier. I'm the
Mhm.
only thing I really need to plan really is when I see you. Like, hey, what time you ready to hang out? And then just go with, hey, what you feeling like doing in the moment? Let me think about what I'm gonna do in the moment. I don't have to plan it out so far in advance. Right. And I'm not saying don't plan nothing ever in life. I'm just saying there can be a balance between the spontaneity and just doing whatever you feeling and then having a little bit of a plan too, just not
Yeah.
overdoing the plan part.
Yeah, like I like having options, and then based on, how we're feeling, based on, how you woke up that morning, um, here's all these options. Like, let's pick one. And generally
Right.
speaking, all of them are going to be good if I'm coming up with the options.
Oh, we
Um,
know you good.
right. And based on, like, sometimes people don't always travel with everything necessary to do some of the options either, like hiking boots or whatever. Everyone doesn't always travel with those things.
Yes, and Refugio says it best. Yes, if you don't enjoy that moment, it's lost. So now I try to just plan something, let some things happen natural. I do think that
Mm,
sometimes I let my work planning roll into my life planning. Girl, you and me
yeah.
both. You
Mhm.
and I just said it. Like I feel like I'm so
Yeah.
structured in the army where it's bleeding into my personal life, but I don't have to do all that.
You
It's
don't.
not
Yeah.
necessary. Yeah, absolutely.
I
Uh,
enjoy some spontaneity, but I think it depends on what else is going on in my life too. Like, I don't necessarily always plan out my weekends, right? But there are some times where I want to get like certain things done. So um sometimes I will not go along with the plans that were given based on like what I wanted to do, like on my house or something like that. But I think because I am so structured in the army, sometimes I want to be more spontaneous and make room for that too. Like if it's a good invite, oh, do you want to go do this? You know what? I didn't think about that. Sure, I'll do that. Like one of my coworkers invited me to see the last Hawaiian Polo Club meet, and that was kind of like a last minute thing. But I was like, sure. Like I haven't seen. I don't think I had been to a polo match before, so I was like, sure, I'll go, even though I may have thought of like, okay, what do I want to do this weekend? That popped up, and so like I went and enjoyed it. And I think that ultimately, you know, how maybe you might need to make a change, or this is how I look at it. I might need to make a change if I'm not having peace. Vacation is supposed to be joyous, just like Refugio said. Joyous, you should have a good time. You should be making memories. And if you're so stressed when you're on vacation, then you might as well stay at work. I almost said stay your ass at work. So I'm gonna say you might as well stay your ass at work, right? Because like you're on vacation and you should be uh enjoying yourself.
Absolutely. So back with Fred, he mentioned that we don't have to be driven by a plan. We don't have to be driven by a plan all the time. Enjoy the moment and not worry if some of those plans don't work. It will allow you to find joy in other things you may have missed if you are solely focused on the schedule. I'm gonna repeat that again. Enjoy the moment and not worry if some of those plans don't work. It will allow you to find joy in other things you may have missed if you are solely focused on the schedule. That is so powerful. So, moving on from that, there is a difference to the way we attend to our positive and negative feelings. So, let's talk about it, y'all.
Mm.
So, Fred states that we tend to spend time counting our troubles more than our blessings. It's within us, right? Um, the negative aspects and the threats in the environment and the world around us are dangerous and they can take our lives. But the pleasures are not going to take our lives if we don't attend to them, right? So the troubles are unavoidable, right? So we all have troubles, we all have issues that we're dealing with in life. The troubles are unavoidable, and they kick our door and they find us. But on the flip side, the pleasures and the joys don't hunt us down and force us to enjoy them. They wait and sometimes hide. And we have to go hunt for them, to find them and spend time with them. Goes back to the Master Resilience training course where it's talking about hunting the good
Mhm.
stuff. Yes,
Yep.
there
Hmm.
are times where our struggles and are just so in our faces that we don't even think about looking for anything good. So all we're doing is just dealing with the troubles because they're unavoidable, right? That's life. But the pleasures and the joys, they wait, and we have to go out there and look for those joys because they're out there. With all the mess we're going through as a country and as a world we're in, it's very hard to find that. But I'm telling you, go hunt for the pleasures and the blessings in life. Go hunt for it. You have
You
to
better
look
say
for that
that.
joy. I'm just
Yes.
saying. I'm just saying.
And I think, even if it's for me personally, even if it's something small, you know what I mean? Like, even if it's something like, I woke up feeling great today, and just starting there. And because there's a lot of scientific research that goes into joy and those positive emotions, hunting the good stuff. People have made millions from law of attraction and manifestation and all this stuff. Even from a scriptural basis. If for those who believe in the Bible, as a man thinks, so is he. And then also whatsoever things are good, pure, just, righteous. Like meditate and think on these things. So there's so much. Even science has proven in a way when they came to studying the monks who pray all day. And if you pray all day, I can guarantee you, you're not praying like you're not going to be in a low mood, right? Another thing that I think people can do, and something that I've tried. Have you ever just tried? Sometimes I'm a goofy person, y'all. Have you ever like I dare you to try to just smile like when you want to be upset. Just start smiling, right? Just smile and like see what will happen to your mood in an instant. And then I think, if you want to stay young, then gratefulness is the key, one of the keys to staying young. Just being grateful in the midst of everything going on in the world, like finding a reason to have joy and finding a reason to hold on to the peace that you have.
Listen, Zion, you are on it because the first thing you mentioned was having the joy in the small things, and that is kind of part of this topic. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's
Mm,
going to be discussed a little later on, but I'm going to delve
okay.
into the joys in the small things.
Hmm.
Okay, so Fred states that negative information is processed way more rapidly, and we tend to remember and retrieve it more readily, and we're more influenced by it, right? Because it's negative, and negative information is always in our faces. Think about the news. Think about things that are put on the news. I mean, I watch The View weekly, right? There's I there when I did decide to do this topic of emotional deceleration and enjoying the joys and the positive, I started to look at The View. Right now, I love my girl Whoopi and everyone else that's on the cast. Um, but what is so interesting is I started paying attention to what they talk about on The View. And a good 80% of the information is some mess, whether it's politically, whether I mean, it's just in our faces all the time. Now, mind you, they are, the number one daytime talk show in the world and all that stuff. Got it. But it's interesting because I'm like, wow, like 80% of their stuff is negative. Like the little 20% will be somebody that got married or someone, but it's just interesting. Like, wow, like it's negative information is fed to us all the time. It's easily accessible. And like I said, it's unavoidable, right?
Mm.
Um, but it's just interesting that like negative information is just so readily available on Google, on YouTube, on TikTok, on everything. It's just negative information will be right there.
And I think I just want to give a plug for our show. That's why we're here, the Vibe Show, because we endeavor to give you ways to educate and uplift you, and we can talk about the truth. Andre knows, and if you ever watched any of our season 1 shows or season 2, we started off swinging, and like just to see
We
our
did.
own right, just to see our own personal growth, and like we're living out the things that we're talking about. I think that's what makes this great. I think that's what motivates us to do this show, because we can look back at it and see our own growth in the topics we're covering. Because ultimately, I think all of this and all the topics we have ever covered, I think could be under the umbrella of trying to share how we're living our authentic lives and how you can do the same. And in doing so, I think you can't help but to have peace, success, joy, and all these things when you're living your authentic life. When everything is not for the gram, right? When everything is for you and your happiness. Down to the clothes you wear, the car you drive, down to what you want to exemplify to the world, or your social media posts, like Andre talked about sharing family, and then a plug from the last episode on how to be unstuck is Andre gave the statistic that 1% of what people share on social media is their actual life. And so we're not getting a full picture of really who somebody is from that 1%. So
We're
just wanted to
not.
put that in there.
We are not. I mean, not to go back to, the other episode, but it's so true that, I feel like that was one of the biggest pieces that I put out that on that show was like only 1% is what people want to share. There's 99% that's not even discussed on social media. Like, this is powerful because you never know what people are going through unless you talk to them. Have a conversation with them. With your friends and family, people are going to be more prone to talking to you over the phone or in person about what they're really going through, but they're not going to put that on Facebook. Now, not to shade some folks, so Lord, but I will say that there are people that do post every living, breathing moment on Facebook. Now, that's annoying. I don't need to be knowing every little thing you're doing.
Do
But
you think that people do that because maybe I think some people do it because they can make money doing it, just like The View, right?
attention
Like I
seeking to
put
me,
this
though,
up
I think
here.
it's attention seeking, though.
I think it's attention seeking, so yes, and people can make money off of it. But do you also think it's because the same way you have to hunt the good stuff is the same way I feel like you have to go out of your way to make a connection with another human being that's going to establish something.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I would say in my life right now, in the societal norms and everyone's impacted by all this stuff, like the topics on The View, social media, music, news, TV, movies, right? I think that I have to create those spaces, just like we're doing here with Vibe Lytical. I have to create the space where I can grow with somebody. First, we have to be somewhat at the same level as far as understanding how important it is to live your authentic life. Because and I don't need anybody to understand how I'm living my life per se. I just don't want you to be offended by it. Because if you're offended by it, then maybe you're having some overreach. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you're not living your authentic life, and that's what you need to look inward. So what I'm saying is we have to go out of our way to create those connections with people, and it's easier to just go to Facebook and be like, "Bleh," vomit up everything that you got going on in your life. Because
Yeah.
think about
That's
how many
powerful.
people make money doing that, right? A lot of people get a lot of clicks, a lot of like. If you look at all the social media influencers, oh, we don't even got to go that far. You named a show, I'll name a show. American Idol. They always got the sad piano music, this person with this sad story, don't they? Every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's designed to draw you in, the same way like when you go to church, right? They play that soft piano music, after they got you emotionally high, now it's coming out, now it's offering time, right? And it's like this sweet music to get you to reach in your pockets and put something in the offering plate. These things are designed that way. And so I think that, like I said, I personally have to make those connections with people. And I think I do it by persistence, number one. Not saying I'm chasing somebody down who doesn't want to be my friend. No, I mean persistence in like not worrying about if I'm oversharing or undersharing within reason, right?
Right.
Within reason. If I just met you, like the right, like I'm going to go through a process in my mind of how I want to share. And if we're just vibing and we're meeting at the same connection and it's flowing, then we just flow together. And if it's not, then I hold back some, because what's the point in just like giving this person all this access to me if we're not going to have reciprocity? And I could keep going, but I think that's good there.
Yes, listen, I love it. I'm here for it. So with that negative part that I just provided, where I said negative information is processed more rapidly, we tend to remember and retrieve it more readily, and we're more influenced by it. The positive side is underestimated, and the focus on psychology has been on the negative. So Fred revealed that the focus on psychology, so him having a degree in psychology, he realized that the focus on psychology has been on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem has been relative ignorance with the positive side and managing positive feelings in our lives, taking active responsibility for them, prioritizing them, structuring time. It is so easy to let the negative swamp our attention and drive our agenda. It is so easy to let the negative come in, right? So we often coach ourselves and loved ones how to deal with adversity, right? So if you think about just daily life, I'm gonna get a little deep, right? Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about 2020, when with George Floyd. Now you got mothers telling their kids, make sure you're on guard, and make sure you listen to the police, make sure you have your hands visible, like all these things that you tell folks in negative situations to do, right? And that's what Black parents have done with their Black children. Another not so deep example
Mm-hmm.
is teaching a child how to ride a bike, and you're training them on how not to fall, so making sure they keep their balance. But have you ever heard of anybody teaching someone how to eat ice cream? No, you ain't. I mean, there's no.
Mm.
So a kid eating
I
ice
haven't, no.
cream. No, no one talks about that. Because guess what? That's a joyous thing to do. Just eat your ice cream. Like, just enjoy the ice cream, eat it up. It's a positive thing that's happening, but no one talks about that. What are some examples of teaching someone to eat some ice cream? Think about that. Just teaching somebody how to eat ice cream. There's something I would say, I was like, make sure you don't eat the whole thing at once because you'll get brain freeze. Or you'll be
Right,
hurt.
right,
I mean,
right.
just small things like that, right? Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
positive thing, but no one really like it's people think it's a common sense thing. If you're eating ice cream, don't just gobble the whole ice cream and just you gotta lick the ice cream, not like chew it like it's candy, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, but no one talks about that though. But that's still something that people should know. One thing that Zion put up is we often coach ourselves and our loved ones on how to deal with negative experiences. However, not so much for the positive experience, like teaching a kid to eat ice cream. It's so
Mm-hmm.
simple, and no one thinks about that because it's like, oh, yeah, I could. Because when a parent gives their child ice cream, they just be like, hey, here you go, hurry up, eat it, whatever, whatever. There's no conversation. It's just, oh, I got you ice cream because that's what the kid was begging for all day. Mommy, 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 ice cream. And then boom, we
Mm-hmm.
go to Dairy Queen or Baskin Robbins or Cold Stone and then just get the ice cream. So Fred stated that we
Can I
all catch
interject?
a
I got
yeah.
one thing to interject right there. My bad.
Mhm.
Like, have you heard of negative suggestion? This just made me think about um negative suggestion.
Okay.
Parenting. I don't have children. I don't necessarily want children, but I know about this topic in the sense of like negative suggestion for those with children, right? Instead of saying, here's your cup of juice or here's your ice cream, don't spill it. You want to say, here's your cup of juice or here's your ice cream, be careful. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a totally different mindset, and like, which is tying into this whole idea of negative things or negative experiences we process more rapidly versus positive things. If you're telling me to be careful, you're giving me the freedom and almost like a liberation that you know I'm not going to spill it, or you're reinforcing the fact that I have the power not to spill it. If you say don't spill it, you put fear or anxiety about me spilling it, which may make me more likely to actually spill it.
Ooh, so the power in words,
Yes.
wordplay has
Hmm.
a big effect on kids and people in general, just people in general. You
Right.
got to figure out how to navigate and say things
Ooh,
in
I
order
got
to
one
get
more
your point
side.
across.
This is
Mhm.
crazy. Okay, one more side note. I'm sorry. For
Okay.
example, the rapper Young Jeezy, and is her name Jeannie
Genie
Mai?
Mai. Hmm.
Jeannie Mai. I- Whatever show she was on, it seemed like a
The
View
real.
kind of spinoff show, The Real,
Who's the
right?
real?
And
Hmm.
how she was on there and she said she likes black on the side. Now, I'm sorry. I knew I was going to talk about this, but this is like the perfect segue because we just
She
talked
said
about what you
black
just said.
meat on the side.
Yeah,
Black
but
meat.
she said black meat on the side. Yes. And so, can you help me on this? That was before she got married to Young Jeezy,
Way before.
and was she married to a Caucasian man at the time?
She was with a white man, Freddie. Hmm.
Okay, so interesting, and I'm not sure. Maybe she grew beyond that or whatever, but that even the women that were on the reel reacted to what she said, like, what do you mean? You know?
Tamar
And
Braxton, Lonnie
it's
Love was like, girl.
yes. And so I wonder if I could ask the rapper Young Jeezy a question. I would have asked him, like, let's say I was doing marital counseling or whatever. Like, let's say I was a pastor and they came to me and I had heard about that or seen that. I would ask them, like, what how do you rationalize this? Because the funny thing is, this is the ironic thing, allegedly they are divorcing because of family view, like the way they view family perspective. So that's so interesting that she put those words out there, in the media sphere, and then she marries a black man, but you just wanted black meat on the side while you was married to a Caucasian man.
Yeah,
So I wonder, like, I guess I would just want to ask Andre, I got this question and I would ask the audience, like, would you marry somebody who put that type of, you know, those words out in the media for everyone to, like, how do you marry somebody that would do that?
so I have an answer for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
Now I know that the people watching that probably know about this story are probably going to be looking at me like I'm crazy, but I actually am a fan of Jeannie Mai. I actually do like her a lot. I think that she was really good on the reel. She provided a perspective that not a lot of people even thought about. She
Hmm.
did mess up majorly by saying black meat on the side, but I do believe that people evolve and grow, and I think that she realized that it was a mistake. And I don't think she had any idea that she was going to fall for Jeezy. I think that, after her divorce from her husband, she just was looking for love. And I think that he just so happened to be a black guy. I don't really think that she now, I'll speak on both parts. I don't think that she realized that she was going to fall for a black guy, and then probably didn't even realize that it was going to carry with her, because a negative comment sticks, right? So I think
Yes.
that she didn't think it was going to stick, because she's like, okay, now this black man is now it's my husband. Ain't no side, and this is actually my entree. It ain't no side dish. This is my entree, my main meal. So I think in her mind, she's like, well, yeah, I may have messed up there, but honey, there ain't no side. There is no side black meat on the side at all with Jeezy. It's all the meat. Ain't no side meat, none of that. It is the main
Mm.
meat, right? And then, but I do also feel, because I don't know, this is all alleged, I do feel that Jeezy may not have known about that comment until after he married her. Because in my mind, I don't think Jeezy probably would have married her if he knew himself of that comment. That's how
Mm.
I
That makes a
personally
lot of
feel. I
sense.
don't know.
Hmm.
Because you got to
Hmm.
think they were only married for barely 2 years.
Mm.
So I think that he was told this from an outside source. Like, did you see this clip? And somebody probably sent the clip. And then he was like, Now, mind you, what the divorce is for doesn't say that that's the issue. It is basically cultural
Mm.
differences. Like the
Mm.
reason for him filing, from what the court documents say, is because of them not agreeing on lifestyle choices and cultural differences, and there's just a clash with lifestyle
Hmm.
choices that they both make. They just didn't agree.
Hmm.
So I don't think that I think that they loved each other. I just think that I think they had amazing chemistry, and I think they still do, but their compatibility is just completely like left and right. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do think that I think Jeannie Mai has matured, and I don't think she'll ever do that again. And I think that she has
Hmm.
learned from that mistake, and you will not ever hear her do that again. But
Yeah.
and because I mean, and the thing is, I have empathy for Jeannie Mai a little bit more,
Hmm.
and I'm a little bit on the bias
Hmm.
side, so I'm letting y'all know I'm a little bit
Hmm.
biased with Jeannie, because when she was married to Freddie, she did not want kids. She had no desire for a child. They have a
Mm.
1-year-old daughter, Monaco, right?
Hmm.
So beautiful, beautiful, mixed girl. But when
Mm.
she got with Jeezy, she was open to having a child with him. So what I'm saying
Mm.
is that shows some true love there, because I think
Hmm.
Jeezy wanted to have a child. Jeezy loves kids. Jeezy has like a good like 4 or 5 kids outside of, I want to say 3 to 5 kids outside of Jeannie
Hmm.
Mai. So he is
Mm.
a kid. He loves kids. So I think
Hmm.
that her love for him made her change her mind, and she got pregnant and had a baby. So what, based on the actions that I've seen from Jeannie Mai, I think that she really fell in love with him, and he's the one that
Yeah.
filed. So I do
Mm.
believe behind the scenes she's trying to save the marriage. I do. I know
Yeah.
the black community is not on her side. They like, bye Jeannie
Yeah.
girl, because they're going back to the
Yeah.
black meat on the side comment, and they want
Right.
to. They're
Hmm.
not canceling her, but they just don't want to have nothing to do with her. They're like, girl, go to
Yeah.
your people, go to your Vietnamese people, and I'm like, girl, like, no, she ain't trying to go to her people. She,
Right.
she likes the black, the black folks now. But I'm a little bit
You know what?
biased because of that. But yeah.
Yeah, and I get that too, and I want to add something because I was thinking the other day.
And that's a beautiful
I
picture of them too.
ain't it. That's why I put that one up. I was thinking the other day, because I'm gonna be mayor of Honolulu, y'all. Just letting y'all know.
Oh,
So
you
I was
better
thinking,
speak.
right? So I was thinking, what would I do? What's the best way to critique somebody? Like, I get these epiphanies throughout the day, like just these questions arise in my mind. And what I came up with is, if I critique somebody, how I would do it is start off by saying I'm human and I reserve the right to be wrong. But this is my opinion and this is how I feel. Because everything we just said about Young Jeezy and Jeannie Mai, we don't know them personally. So our opinion is just our opinion. And until new information is introduced, right? Or until we meet them, then we really don't know their story and their situation. Do you see how liberating that is? Because I feel that since the negative information travels so fast, that's why we're even talking about it now,
And what did I
right?
just do, Zion? What did I just do? I hunted the good
You
stuff
flipped it.
with
You
the
did.
both of them. And I did that without even trying, because I tried to look at
Yes.
the positive aspect of
Right.
Jeezy probably was affected. If it was indeed what I said, where he probably saw that clip and got offended. Oh, Daly saying manifest, my friend, that mayor. That's why she said that.
Thank you.
But if Jeezy probably did get offended by that comment in his divorcing, I mean, that could literally be it, right? Um,
Hmm.
we don't know the facts, but like I said, I
Right.
am leaning on supporting Jeannie Mai, just more so
Yeah.
because of what is presented. She had a baby by this man when she didn't even want kids. She made a
Mm-hmm.
mistake. She has never done it again. She ended up
Mm-hmm.
marrying a black man. She could have literally kept it. She could have went to another white guy.
Mm-hmm.
Honey, the white folks love her. They could they was waiting on Jeannie, but she ended up going to someone of color. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like I just my heart goes out to Jeannie Mai because I just feel like her intentions are always in the right place. It's just that it was just bad
Mm-hmm.
timing. That's just how I
Yeah.
feel. Daly
Yeah.
says an opinion is someone's truth until fact shows different. Yes, it is. That's
But
so
I
true.
also, but it's true, but I feel like it's problematic in a way too. Unless, for example, you know what we haven't talked about this whole time that I feel like we have to talk about, and anybody else dive in. If you know anything about young Jeezy, what does he rap about in his music? Look up some young Jeezy lyrics. That's the only other piece. So when the
He
cultural
cutthroat.
difference is part, that could be part of it. Like he was one of the biggest rappers, talking about trap or die. And just
He
look
was.
that up if
He
you don't know what
was. He was.
trap or die
Yeah.
means. Hustling, selling drugs, and all this stuff. Like he really pushed that image while sending his kids to Ivy League schools. Mm. So there's that too. So that is a fact, right? That we can go and check, which is more than opinion, more than an opinion in my opinion. It's more than an opinion because his lyrics did say those things. His lyrics were targeted at black youth, telling them to go out and do these types of things. So that could be an aspect of the cultural difference or perspective too. It's like, hey man, like you're wealthy now. Look how clean he looked. Like, go honest. You know what I mean? Stop rapping it. He's I think almost 50 now, and he came out with an album more recently, still trying to rap the same. And I know that because my coworker was like, "Man, how are you still? You almost 50, still rapping the same about the same stuff?"
And I see
But
how
I
you
digress.
called him Young Jeezy, but he now goes by Jeezy, but you still calling him Young Jeezy though.
See,
And you did that subconsciously.
because that's what I know. Because that's what I know him
He
as
goes by
far as
Jeezy
like,
now.
yeah, that's true. He ain't young no more.
He ain't got no. He almost 50, honey. Like, and I mean, and then and Jeannie Mai's 44. And Jeannie Mai's 44. She had her baby in her 40s. So, like,
Mm,
Jeannie Mai had no desire. Yeah, Jeannie Mai is 44. She looks amazing for 44. I'm just saying, like, she had her baby in her 40s. So that lets you know, based on what she said on the reel, and now she had no desire to have no kids. Like,
mm,
no, kids wasn't even on her mind, but she had a baby. So that's why I said my heart goes out to her just based on what I've
yeah.
seen. We don't know what goes
Yes.
on behind closed doors, but
Right.
maybe there could be some reconciliation. But I do think that Jeezy's done though. I think Jeezy's not backing
Mhm.
out of this divorce. It's been made public and it's all over everything. So he ain't changed his mind
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
he a thug like that. So moving on, because still a whole lot to
Okay. Go
there's still
ahead.
a whole lot to cover. So um let me go. Okay. So Fred also stated that we catch ourselves teaching a child on how to deal with the struggles of life, but assume that the joys will take care of themselves. Just like I
Mm,
stated earlier, we could talk all day about like what I said, the deep part where I talked about how like, um, knowing what to do if the police pull a black person over and knowing how to navigate that. It's very easy to
mhm,
talk about that stuff, but no one wants to talk about the simple stuff, like just some of the positive things. We spend so little time on how to manage the positive side of life because we are primarily focused on how to deal with adversities. So he was taught by one of his mentors, Fred, that just because you are not down doesn't mean you are up.
mm,
It's powerful, right? So when his mentor said
mhm,
that just because you're not down doesn't mean you are up. What that means is that there is just an absence of suffering, not necessarily happiness. That's what that means.
mm,
So happiness is something that you have to look out for and create for yourself.
mm,
Okay. Like that was basically the mentor's statement is like, just because you're not down, that doesn't mean that you're like, oh, like I am just as happy as can be. You have to look for those
right.
things.
Mhm,
So There is a phenomenon to savoring the moment. Zion just put happiness is something that you have to create for yourself.
Mm,
There is a phenomenon to savoring the moment, and it is called metacognition. Metacognition. So, metacognition means thinking about our own mental state and feelings. So, in other words, having an awareness and understanding of one's own thought and processes. So, an example would be looking at a flower in a garden. So, you're looking at a rose in the garden, but in addition to that, you're smelling it, you're dissecting what aroma that it could be, what
mm,
memories come with smelling that flower. That is the essence of really savoring and appreciating a positive experience. So we walk by flowers all the time. Are we stopping to to dig deep into the story of that flower, why it smells so good, where the aroma comes from? Like, that is savoring the moment, looking at it,
mm,
not just looking at the flower with the naked eye, but smelling it, dissecting the aroma. Is there a memory associated with it? That's what metacognition kind of entails. Um, Fred also talks about the hedonic treadmill. So if you've watched the show back in I want to say season one, I brought up the hedonic treadmill. So I'm gonna, and it's brought up again in this interview. So the hedonic treadmill is a psychological theory that suggests that humans have the tendency to return to a relatively stable level of happiness, despite changes in their circumstances or external conditions. I'm going to
mm,
read that definition again. So, the hedonic treadmill is a psychological theory that suggests that humans have the tendency to return to a relatively stable level of happiness, despite changes in their circumstances or external conditions. So I'm gonna give an example of that. An example would be
mm,
if we received a lot of gifts at once. So think about your birthday, or I mean, I'll throw in Christmas, but I'm really thinking about your birthday, or baby showers, just any place where you're receiving a lot of gifts. So I'll just stick to birthdays. You get all these gifts at once, but what you can do is there's going to be changes in your life. Circumstances happen, blah, 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 blah. Why don't y'all just spread out the time to open each gift? So spread
mm,
them out over time and slow down and stretch the experience of happiness in you. So if I receive 15 gifts, do I have to open all 15 that one day? No, no. I can spread it out. And I'm gonna give another example of spreading out towards the end of the show, or towards the end of the topic. I'm gonna give another example because Fred provided an example at the end of the
mhm,
show. So spread out those gifts. Maybe open one today, wait a couple weeks, open up the next one. That's savoring. You're able to savor your moments a lot more when you spread out your gifts that you've received. You don't necessarily have to open them all up at one time, right? So
mhm.
another example that they gave was, have you ever went to Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop and you smell the aroma that goes with it? Have you ever done that? Like, you just go, oh
Yep,
Lord, Starbucks,
yep.
like, or whatever, right?
Mhm. Look.
Well, look at you with Starbucks right now, right? So a way to savor the moment is to, when you go back in there, now, mind you, subconsciously, if you go to that place regularly, that aroma goes away. But when a new person goes in there that's never been in that coffee shop, they're like, oh, it smells so good in here, right? So a story took place where Fred went to a coffee shop. He goes there all the time for coffee, loves the coffee. The aroma went away because after a certain time, kind of like when you're with your with your trees that are in your car with the scented trees, like,
Yeah.
you don't smell it no more when you get in your car because you're in your car every day. But like, let's say Zion got in my car, he ain't been in my car ever. He get in my car like, it smells good in
Mhm,
here because he's never been
mhm,
in my car. So it's a whole new aroma for him because he's never been in my car. So the
mhm,
experience that they talked about was when they went into the coffee shop, a guy came in and was like, "It smells nice in here." And then he looked at Fred, was like, "Don't you smell that? It smells good in here." And Fred was like, "Huh? I don't smell nothing." And then in his mind,
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh wow, I'm so used to this smell that I don't even smell it anymore." So then what happens is he picked up his, his scent glands or whatever you want to call it, and he started smelling the aroma again. So the
Hmm.
power of the mind is so powerful because he said as soon as he reminded him that there was an aroma, he started smelling that same aroma again.
Ooh, I got to interject right there because
Okay.
it just hit me, right?
Okay.
I think people do this with their spouses and partners.
Oh.
Ooh, meaning, look, meaning like taken for granted, right? Like doing things out of habit, right? When you're doing what adults do, and coming together, like people have conversations like, oh, doing adult things with the same person over and over again gets old or stale, or they have this idea, right, on how they think about it. This is supposed to be a family friendly show. It is. I'm just keeping it real though, right? And like I realize that I think I'm the type of person that uses my five senses all the time. That I've trained my. I'm not saying I'm not affected by habitual experiences. But what I'm saying is I think I realized this a while ago and started to apply it to my life. Because when I walk in my office, right, I have one of my coworkers named Mark, and like he always wears the best smelling colognes. And sometimes I can smell it just like I gotta walk past his cubicle to get to mine. And I'll be like, like, Mark, which cologne is that? Also, I think one of the reasons why I do it, how does it make you feel when you compliment somebody? Anybody watching right now, like, and Andre, how does it make you feel when you compliment somebody?
Well, I'm a words of affirmation kind of person, so I want to be
Hmm.
complimented. So that's my number one
Okay.
love language is words of affirmation.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
love complimenting people. Like, I mean, I
Yes.
just complimented your shirt,
You
and
did.
I said you look
You
good in
did.
your shirt. So
Thank you.
like, I'm gonna
Hmm.
immediately like it's if I see something, I'm gonna compliment because I want compliments back. Like I need you to
Mm.
tell me
Okay.
something too, because that's my
Yeah.
number one love language is words. I want
Okay.
to be reminded of my greatness. I need to be reminded
Yes.
from people,
Yes.
right? So
Uh-huh.
yeah, it makes me feel good to compliment because
Yes.
I love them in return.
Hmm. Okay. Very good. Refugio says good. Yeah, I,
Good.
I I agree. It makes me feel good. I also think if you want those positive interactions, because you just talked about right, giving and receiving compliments, right? It's a positive interaction. The more of those we can have, I think on a daily basis, it'll help us, be more grateful. And I think, it's important to be intentional with your spouse or partner as well. Whatever you're doing, use your five senses. Like slow down, emotional deceleration, slow down, use your five senses so you can have more joy. And in return, the more joy you have, it becomes infectious and then they'll have more joy, you know?
and
Because
and that's
because
what
let
he.
me
Go ahead.
well, listen, let me ask you this. What about when you compliment somebody, but they don't take your compliment? How does that make you feel?
Well, I feel that it's a little bit, disrespectful,
Mm,
to not take my compliment and just know that I won't ever compliment you no more because I'm gonna keep my
right.
compliments to myself. So even though,
Even when people do it in a way where it's not really like hostile or whatever, or they'll be like this whole thing, you know how people do, like, don't I tell them just say thank you. Don't minimize my comment. Don't
no,
and if
but
it's a
people do it
potential
all the
partner,
time. People do it all
they
the time.
do. It
Mhm.
depends too. Is it a stranger that I'm complimenting? Okay, they can, you know, minimize my compliment, whatever. It's a stranger. If it's somebody that I see on a regular basis, or a friend, or a spouse, or potential partner, mm-mm. Well, they won't get to the spouse part. And if it's a potential partner, we probably ain't going no further if you can't take my
Mm-mm,
compliments.
mm-mm.
Yes. Okay.
No.
Okay.
So moving on, and I didn't realize that I took a lot of notes, so I'm gonna try my best to kind of like, because it's a lot. I did a lot of note
Well,
taking.
my mom said that she views it in chunks. So that's cool too. If you can't watch it all at once, but I do think, we're doing our due diligence and giving you the best that we can. So I think we should be concerned about time, but not too much where we're cutting short on your notes though. Roll
I
on.
know,
I'll
because
try to
it's
make
so
less
good. It's so
I'll
good.
make less interjections now.
No, make your interjections. Like it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's just a lot. So let's move on. So, also, I wanted to say that it is important to realize that speed and impatience is the enemy of enjoyment. It is very important to realize that speed and impatience is the enemy of enjoyment, but lingering is the secret. Lingering is the secret. Um, so there was a study on savoring the moment that was conducted with 200 participants. And he found that when people engaged in savoring in response to a positive event, it resulted in significantly stronger positive emotions immediately afterwards and then throughout the day. He found that those savoring experiences grew over time, and at the end of the month, they had more joy. Savoring had the strongest effects when people had fewer positive events. Now, think about that. Think about that. Savoring had the strongest effects when people had fewer positive events. It seems counterintuitive, but savoring matters most when you are squeezing the joy from positive moments when you had fewer positive moments to work with. So what he is basically trying to say is that it doesn't matter how many positive experiences you have if you are not savoring each one individually and not savoring those moments um, one by one, they're gonna just go by. They're just gonna go by, and you're gonna be like, "Oh wow, there were so many moments that you could even catch." So you remember me saying earlier that you may miss out on some stuff because if there's so much going on that you may miss out, you may miss out on a positive experience because there's so much. There's either a lot of negative or a lot of positive. So make sure you understand that savoring matters when you are squeezing the joy from positive moments, when you have
I think
fewer
one of
positive moments.
I think one of the ways that we can get by that is through journaling at times. At different points in my life, I felt like, okay, I need to write things down and journal when all these wonderful blessing things are happening because sometimes it can be overwhelming. But the beautiful part is if you write it down, you can go back and read it and then go have that joyous experience again and again and again. And you can remember and recall different things each time you go back and read it.
Oh, that's powerful. So Fred speaks about his brother. So he stated that he always relished Christmas, like his brother loved Christmas. And his brother said that we are going to have an amazing meal. There's going to be lots of snow on the ground on Christmas Day. There's going to be so many gifts under the tree. I'm going to get this gift, this gift, this gift, this gift. But on Christmas Day, not all of those things came to happen. So what he would say is, oh, well, maybe next Christmas. So what he was good at was building anticipation, but it fell short and he was truly disappointed and hurt. So what that means for his brother is that he had the rule of expectation, which is high, which is the higher, which is higher than our expectations, the harder it is to actually savor the moment. So he had a rule for expectation. It was higher than what happened. So it's actually harder to actually savor in the moment. When you have all these expectations for things to go one way and it doesn't go that way, it can hurt you. So that was what his brother did. So instead of just savoring in the moment that was given on Christmas Day with what was already in front of him, I think that he would have been better off. But being that you're going into this expectation thing of thinking it was going to be one way and it doesn't go your way or the way you anticipated, you're going to be disappointed. So that's why it's always important that you savor the moments that are in front of you.
Mm.
Whatever's in front of you, savor those, right? Another study was conducted by another psychologist by the name of Jonathan Schuler. Um, the study consisted of one group of individuals to listen to music. Um, so one group was to just listen to the music. listen to the music, and then the other group was to reflect on how they felt when they were listening to the music. So just imagine two groups. One group is just told, hey, when you hear the music, just listen to it. The other group had to reflect on what they were feeling while listening to the music. He found that the group that listened to the music only, well, actually, I'm sorry, I'm mixing it up. He found that the group that listened to the music to reflect on how they felt had lower levels of enjoyment. So the very act of monitoring the positive feelings, it undermined the final level of enjoyment. So it's like you pay a price for too much self-reflection. So think about Fred,
Mm,
right? Think about Fred. Think about Fred where he's at his daughter's music performance, right? But you're thinking about all these different things you got to do outside of that. When is it going to be over? How much time is left? I got a manuscript to write. I got this to do. He can't even fully enjoy it because he's thinking about all the other things. So the very act that the other group had of monitoring how they felt, they couldn't fully enjoy it because they were like, well, how do I feel? Do I feel good? Is this a nice song? Am I happy about this? Am I sad about this? Too
mm,
much self-reflection when all you just need to do is just savor the moment that's in front of you, like Zion just put out, it comes with a high emotional cost. And Jonathan Schuller here is the psychologist that did this study. Fred, now I want to share this story because this story is so good from Fred. So Fred shared a personal story about his mother. So he was assigned a task at school to go out into the forest and collect mushrooms and have a presentation for it. So just collecting mushrooms, right? So he went out into the forest with his mom. They ended up finding several mushrooms of different sizes and shapes and all that stuff, right? And during that time, they were guessing how old some of them were and all that, right? And what his mom would say was like, do you remember when we had none? Do you remember when we had no mushrooms? And and when we first started our search, and then she would say, but look at us now. Like we got some. Like, look at us now. We got mushrooms. And then she would say, you know what? Let's go home and we could reflect on what we experienced. Fred stated that it was like a mental time machine, having the ability to travel back and forth in time. And that is how you savor moments. So
mm,
what his mom did was say, you know what? We are going to go, we're not even going to think too deep. The task was to look for some mushrooms. Okay, that's all we're gonna do is gonna go into this forest, look for some mushrooms. They ended up going out there. There was no plan on what tree to go to, what area in the forest. We just gonna go. We're just gonna go into the forest. And it was so powerful because in his mind, he was like, man, she asked me, wow, do you remember when we had none? Oh my God, I do. I remember when we had none. Now we got all these mushrooms in our basket. Oh my God. Now I'm excited to go home and reflect back. Let's go back to the past and talk about how when I went out there. And so what was happening was the mom was going back saying, do you remember this? And then he would go, hey mom, you remember when we did this? You remember when you almost fell? You remember when that branch was over there and you did. And he was like, oh my God, I'm savoring all these precious little moments. So back to what you were talking about earlier, Zion, about the small moments. The task was to find mushrooms. But during this journey that they took, they started talking about how one of them almost fell down, how there was a bird chirping too loud. It was like, what's that bird up there chirping? Like, could the bird be quiet? We're trying to find mushrooms, the bird distracting us. And oh, do you remember that deer that was over there? You saw that deer? Like, they were literally talking about each little moment of joy that had nothing to do with the mushrooms, but they were savoring each moment. And then they went home at night talking about it, reflecting back.
mm,
That's how you savor moments. So, with all of that being said, there is evidence that anticipating what you are going to find, trying to imagine how wonderful it is going to be, then you're trying to think about where to find those things, then you find them, then you celebrate when you found them, then you look back at the end of the day. It is like extracting joy juice in the search for mushrooms, because that's exactly what happened.
mm,
So they were anticipating what they were going to find. They tried to imagine how wonderful it was going to be. They were thinking about how to find those things. Then you find them. Then you celebrate when you found them. Then you look back at the end of the day. Look at all those different moments of joy that were
mm.
happening. You're, that is exactly what happened with mom and son. So what mom did is that she found joy ahead of time, and even when they were in the moment, building
mm,
memories to be recalled later. And I think that is just so, so profound. And she found things to be remembered, which allowed him to also participate in finding things to savor as well with those memories. Like I shared earlier, where she talked about, you remember how you almost fell? And then he will share, do you remember that bird that was chirping too loud? Then, oh, do you remember that? So, like, that is what it was. So this allowed him to study savoring the moment. He studied this, and he's been doing it
mm,
for 40 years. 40 years he's been doing this. So, what is very profound is that Fred's mom did not do what his brother did ahead of Christmas. His brother built up anticipation of Christmas by imagining more presents, better
mm,
presents, and perfect snowy weather, but was disappointed when the reality fell short of his expectations. But Fred's mother focused on enjoying the ordinary. So, but you can extract savory moments in the ordinary, just in the ordinary life. Whatever happens in that moment, that's how you can savor. She took advantage of the errors in the way the mind works to combat the propensity of the mind to focus on the negative. That is so
mm,
profound because there was so much going on in the search for mushrooms, but she put joy in that, right? So Fred states that there is a difference between how men and women savor moments. So let's talk about it a little bit. Women are reported that they are fully capable of enjoying the moment. Men seem to be more in touch with when it's actually happening to them. So that's the only time that men can enjoy a moment is when it's actually happening. But and that's
mm,
maybe because men have a dominant coping strategy that
mm,
involves suppressing feelings and denying. Women are way more expressive, whereas men keep to themselves. They keep them to themselves. So women tend to build more memories, where men talk about feelings when they are encouraged not to do so. So that is why when you looked at Fred's mother was like, "Oh no, we're going to savor in this moment. We're going to live in it." So, but for Fred, he was just happy in the moment. His mom helped him to say, hey, when we get back home, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about all the moments we enjoyed while we were out. So not only did Fred enjoy in the moment, he also went back home at night and they were able to
mm,
reflect back on what happened. That is what savoring the moments mean. So let's talk about world focus savoring. So I'm wrapping things up. So
mm,
world focus savoring. So world focus savoring is when we notice something outside of us that is pleasurable. And what an example of that means a rainbow, the Grand Canyon, a beautiful sunset, right? The savoring process is marveling in the moment. The outer world experiences are very different from self focused ones, like pride and accomplishment in the task we complete. So, most savory experiences is a blend of both. Happiness is
mm,
not in things, but it is in us. It is a fuel for savoring. So don't think that world focused savoring isn't tied to self focused ones because they can all blend together. And what that means,
mm,
and I'm going to tie that back to the story that he shared with his mother. The moment was for him to go out there and look for most mushrooms. That was the self focused savoring. I'm going to go with my mom to look for mushrooms. The world focus of that is the birds chirping too loud, him almost falling down, all the different little nuances and things that were happening on that journey, right? Like
mm,
those, all those things, that it's a blend of both, right? So it is important to have many experiences of savoring versus intense experiences of savoring. I'm going to say that again. It is important
mm,
to have many experiences of savoring versus intense experiences of savoring. So Fred states that intensity is fine, but it will wear off over time. The small things, Zion, back to what Zion's point, the small
mm,
things in life count more than one big celebration. You can hold
mm,
on to those small things a lot more than a big celebration, where there are so many things that can happen at once that some things can be overlooked in a big celebration, right? So one of the biggest things that he took away from this interview was you can hold on to the small things a lot more than a big celebration. And big celebrations meaning birthdays, baby showers, weddings, all these things where there's so many big things, like it's a big moment. So there's so much to soak in a big moment. But those little moments could be putting on my dress. Not me
Mm.
putting on a dress. I'm talking about the wife putting on a dress.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about me, y'all. But like the wife putting on the dress, having a hugging moment with their mom, dad coming in, looking at how proud he is of his daughter getting married and all that. I mean, just the little things that happen before and the things that happen at the what do you call it? The honeymoon phase. Like those
Mhm.
things matter. But that big moment in the wedding, there's so many things that could be overlooked. So I want to promote his book. Fred Bryant wrote a book, and his book is called Savoring, a New Model of Positive Experience. That is the name of the book. It's called Savoring, a New Model of Positive Experience. And the last story I want to share with you is about his co-author. So he didn't write the book on his own. Um, his co-author is Joseph Veroff. Joseph and Veroff is spelled Veroff. But he co-wrote the book with him. And the story that Joseph wanted Fred to share in this interview was that all of his kids are grown and all that stuff. But back when they were kids, they would write letters to him. Um, and the letters continued as they became adults, right? So now that all those kids are like grown and got their lives, all five kids still wrote letters to their father. And that's a tradition that they kept. And Joseph was just so happy about that, right? But guess what he did? Because being that he studied savoring as well, um, he did not read all those letters in one day. He would receive the letters at the same day. All the kids would mail the letters at the same time. There's the book. That's the book. But he would literally put space in between each kid's letter and read them over a week's time. So he had five kids. So an example would be he would read one on Monday. He'll wait till Wednesday to read the other one. Wait till Friday to read the other one. Then wait. So he would wait a couple days because what he did was he did not want to lose out on enjoying each moment with each child
Mm.
because he could have literally
Mm.
just read all five letters in one day and been done. But a way for him to savor the moment was to read each letter at a different day. And in closing, what Joseph and what Fred is telling us is to enjoy the small things in your life because you can savor each of those moments just as much as any big moment or big celebration in life. And if you can do that, that is how you hunt for the good stuff.
Mm.
And that is how you can navigate this world that we live in where it's predominantly negative. And that's all I got.
Mm. I feel that one thing we should add, we could also do this in separate shows. Meaning, like, I think we can add, like, okay, what while you were doing this research, what pieces, stood out most to you, or if, like, how did this impact you while you were researching it and learning from these other experiences?
Yeah, I can answer that. I can do that now. I
Mhm.
can answer that.
Okay, that'd be great.
So,
Yeah.
what that did for me was kind of what I mentioned earlier about being such a planner and just being like, I got to plan, and really telling myself, Andre, you ain't got to plan everything. Just go with the flow, live in the moment. And I do want to
Mhm.
share a personal story of how I am doing that. So I have a friend, his name is David. I met him on the Bumble BFF side of Bumble, not the dating side. So he's a straight friend of mine. And he's a cutie pie too. Oh Lord. But anyway, he's my friend. And he is a cute Caucasian man. Okay, you hear me? But anyway, he is a bodybuilder. Um, and when I say the sweetest of sweetest, um, he invited me to his house last Monday. And he invited me like a week prior and was like, just come over to the house. I'm having the Browns played football. It was a football game that came out on the 18th. I don't watch football. I don't do that. But I was like, you know what? I don't watch football, but let me go ahead and go. I don't. It's a Monday night. It's a Monday night. So you want me to go to your house on a Monday night at 8 p.m.? Like, who does that? But I was like, you know what? It's not something that I normally do, and it's not something that I would have planned. But I stepped outside the box and I did it. What happened was when I went to his house, in my mind, because I'm a planner, right? I'm a planner. I said, I'm going to show up at 8 and I'm leaving at 10. I'm only going to do 2 hours. I'm going home because ain't nobody got time to be out late on a Monday night watching football. And I don't even watch football like that. I showed up to his house at 8, like probably like 8:15. I was a little bit late. I did not leave his house till 11:30. I was so excited to be at his house. He had 15 guests at his house. I made 2 new friends out of it. And I got 2 new friends because I stayed, had a good time. I didn't drink or whatever, but I just had a phenomenal time watching the game, chatting, laughing, joking, all those things. And and I was able to savor each moment and not think about time anymore. So even though I
Mm,
went there saying I'm only going to do 2 hours, I said, when I got there, I said, you know what, Andre, savor the moment and just go with the flow. Me going with
mm,
the flow allowed me to stay until 11:30 Monday night.
mm.
So that's my story on savoring the moment. And
Very
Refugio said
beautiful.
on a school night, oh no, 1 hour max. I know, girl. I know. I did not do
That's
that, but
when he's the first sergeant. Yes, yeah.
right, when I'm the
Anyone
first
else
one, that's
before?
gonna change.
Yeah. For any of our viewers, could you let us know what did you learn from today's topic? What we're trying to do is, make it more interactive and basically hear what you're getting from it because that's what we're endeavoring to do here. So let us know if what did you get from today's topic as we get ready to wrap up.
So I do want to say this to you, Zion.
Okay.
I injured my back on
Mm,
Wednesday, so it's my lower back. I got to go to physical
uh-oh.
therapy.
So
So
you're
I
ready to get
I
off
was
here
doing.
now.
Yeah, my back is starting to bother me.
Mhm.
So I do want. I mean, I have a high tolerance for pain, so I'm good right now. But I know in like the next 15 minutes, I'm gonna be like, okay, I can't do it. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have a whole pillow on my back and everything, trying to like position
Mm,
myself. But I was trying to be
okay.
too youthful and do PT, and I just did too much. So
Well, we could wrap up in the next couple minutes. So Refugio says, take a step back and enjoy the present. Yes. Yes, indeed.
yes, that's what I did
Mhm.
when I went to the football game at my friend's house. Is enjoy the moment. You don't have to plan like I'm gonna
Mhm.
leave, and like I enjoyed the moment. It was too late, but I
Right.
don't regret it. I don't regret it because I made 2 new friends out of it. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I think what I take from it as we're getting ready to wrap up is you can always build on these skills. And I think focusing on what we can control and what we can influence and letting everything else go. You can't control the weather. I mean, you could pray for rain and do a rain dance if you want. But, we can't, there's a lot of things we can't control, but we can always control our response to different stimuli. And so control it. And then if you, for me, living my authentic life in the way that I feel is best and the way that the Most High is leading me, that means I should give somebody else that liberation and help somebody else have that experience. You know, like it takes a lot of work to be authentic and to be present, especially now. There's so many things pulling for our attention, there's so many negative things surrounding us. And those things aren't going away. This is society as we know it now, but we can choose to be different and we can choose to rise above. And we can choose to be our authentic selves no matter what is coming against us or who it is, whether that be family, a partner, friends, whoever. And just for me personally, I pray and I meditate and ask the Most High, what should I be giving out? Sometimes I think, if you're a first sergeant or if you're in a career field or job where you have to pour out all the times, you got to take breaks. Sometimes you got to take breaks from people. Sometimes you got to fast. Sometimes people take breaks from social media. Whatever way you can slow your emotions down so you can think clearly, have critical thinking, and then be more in control of yourself and your responses, I think is one of the best ways that we can go about doing that. And that's kind of what I take from the topic. And I did that in like
Ooh,
a minute.
that was
So
good. That was
as
good.
we get ready to close, thank you all for joining. For those who watch this on a replay, please send us comments and stuff. We'll be breaking down um, smaller forms of content. I did make us a TikTok, so we're on TikTok,
Ooh,
and I've been posting like more short clips there. Also, I put shorts on our YouTube videos, and so I'll be doing that for this topic
send
as
me the
well.
password and
So
stuff to that. Yeah, I need to see this. I
okay,
knew you was gonna
oh,
do it,
okay.
but I didn't know you did it. So okay.
Oh, okay. Yes, of course. I will get you that. Well, thank
Yes.
you. And we are wrapping up. So we will catch you on the next one. And I'll go ahead and make a Facebook event live. I think, Andre, did we decide that the next one we're just going to do a pop up?
Yes, I want to do a pop up next time. I did want to do it today, but Zion was right. We already locked it in. Didn't want to change the flow, so I understood that. So next time will be a pop up, and I feel the pop ups are kind of to give me a break from having to do research too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a lot. It's a lot of work for me to come up with the not to come up with the content, but to research the content and then get
Yes.
all that. So like it kind of gives me a little bit of a break from like researching.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
want to do a pop up maybe every other show, just so I can kind
Okay.
of breathe with the research part,
Yes.
which I enjoy. Y'all, let
Okay.
y'all know the Vibe Political Show. I enjoy researching, but I want to have
Mhm.
balance. So
Yes. Amen. On that note, we will see y'all in the next one. And thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing if it's safe, and commenting. See y'all in the next one. Bye.
bye.